Hello and welcome to the last episode of this season of WandaVision's PonderVision. We'll get to that later. There's a reason why I'm phrasing it in a very strange way. Welcome. What a finale we just had.
Yep.
I mean, let's just introduce ourselves first. I'm Charlie, and joining me is
Ash.
And I mean, let's just word vomit because
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of the only thoughts in my head right now.
pretty much. Let's start with okay, here's a good question to start off with. Was the finale in your mind a success?
Yeah, I definitely think so. Yeah.
Okay.
Things that upset a certain subset of people did not upset me, so yeah, I wasn't like mad. I think it could have been probably about like 20 minutes longer. But overall, I thought it was really good. And I liked where they left things off, and I'm excited to see what happens next. And yeah, I think at the end of the day, it was like this show is always supposed to be about Wanda.
Yes, that's my view as well.
So I wasn't disappointed. Like, I was a little bit disappointed that Monica didn't really have much to do, but I know that her story is going to get told somewhere else, you know?
Yeah.
Down. This was like introducing Monica Rambeau. So yeah, I thought it was really good. What do you think of it? What do you think about it?
I loved it. When I watched it the first time, I didn't quite know what I thought about it. Like, I was probably just so emotionally overrun by everything that was going on. Also, I woke up and watched it, so like I was just like bombarded with emotions. It was interesting. I wasn't sure if I was like disappointed or like really happy, and I think I waited a little bit to think about what I thought about it. Went back and watched it again. I was like, do you know what? I really loved it. Any sort of disappointments or disagreements I had with it are pretty small. I agree about the whole Monica and like the Jimmy subplot, and there were some elements that I feel like could have had a few more minutes to delve into, maybe a bit more time to delve into that whole.
Yeah.
I wanted to see more of Monica and Wanda. I know they had that short little talk, but I feel like that you could have done a bit more of that. But also, like you said, like I'm appreciative of the fact that we're gonna have a whole film to dedicate to like Monica and delving into that, and I'm sure we're gonna get more of those stories at some point. And also, like, you can tell things had to happen a certain way due to restrictions with COVID.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure Kat Dennings wasn't in that scene. I'm pretty sure there was like in the credits, it was like Darcy stunt double. Like, I'm pretty sure like they photoshopped her face or like rotoscoped over it.
Yeah, I mean, that was kind of the implication that I was getting. It's like, oh, she couldn't come back for reshoots due to COVID, so that's why she wasn't in it very much.
Yeah.
But yeah, I thought it was like, okay, the big like thing that people are mad about, right, is the Pietro thing. It didn't upset me because I was kind of going into this entire thing being like, that's not Fox Universe Pietro.
Yeah.
It was a little bit underwhelming, but I think it's fine. It didn't bother me. I thought it was funny. It didn't bother me that much, honestly.
Yeah, and I think that's what's interesting, and we'll send this off to the new topic we're going to talk about, which is basically the theorization of things. Like, did theorizing ruin people's expectations of the show? Is that a fault of the creators, or is it a fault of the internet? And I think it's the latter. No, I know
it's definitely the latter. No, I mean, we've seen this with Star Wars: Last Jedi. You know, people were like spent 2 years talking about who Rey was, and then when it was an answer that people didn't like, they got really angry.
Yeah.
And it's like, I don't think the show was ever gonna be one, because it was in pre-production before they had the rights to the X-Men or the Fantastic Four, right? So it was never gonna be like opening the door to the X-Men, and I think that's a good thing. It's
No, yeah.
I think like people like it's not time for the X-Men yet, right? I really don't think we're getting the X-Men for quite a while because they had everything planned out before they presumably had the rights to them, right? We might get like a Wolverine cameo or something, but I really don't think we're going to see the X-Men anytime soon. And I think that's okay, right? I think like,
yeah,
you know, phase 4 or whatever is going to be what it's going to be. And maybe phase 5 is X-Men. So I think people like expecting that we were going to get like Reed Richards or the X-Men or something like that. I'm like, yeah, that was a little bit ridiculous. Like there was
like
no
a leapfrog.
There's no basis that Reed Richards was going to be in this show, right? People were just like, oh, who's a Marvel character that's an aerospace engineer? And it's like, okay, like it's a bit of a stretch, even if you're like looking at it in that context. Yeah. Oh God.
You said it.
I hate my life.
That's his like that's his catchphrase. It's a bit of a stretch.
It's a bit of a stretch.
Yeah, I like you said, it's okay to theorize. It's okay to be like, oh, it could be Reed Richards. There's a leapfrog of. I think that's what's frustrating is seeing like creators and people who say Easter eggs. This could be a reference to blah blah blah. Taking that, like the idea of like those astronauts that came like were changed, that being like the Fantastic Four. That's okay. That's a good theory. That's like, oh, maybe. Oh my god.
Oh my god, Mephisto's here.
I don't know if you can see this, but in the chat, Mephisto has joined the chat. And Mephisto is saying, me and Kaifun will use Wanda to destroy the multiverse. I can't believe this. Mephisto showed up in the final. Well, do you know what? Our chat is here. This is a live episode, so our chat is here for you to send us any theories, ask us any questions. So if you want to ask us any questions, and if you happen to be the ruler of hell, you know, what a great. I was not expecting Mephisto to show up. Well, I'm a big fan.
No one ever is.
I will get the dark hold. I'm sure you will. I'm absolutely sure you will, Mr. Mephisto. Oh, come on. That's not very nice. I have brilliant on me.
Oh my god. Yeah, but I feel like again, it's totally okay to speculate to your heart's content, theorize, but the moment you start like expecting that to happen, I feel like is the moment you have to take a step back. This show never gave any indication that they were going to introduce anything other than like Wanda being the Scarlet Witch, right?
Yeah. Or potentially like stuff with Vision. But yeah. That's what's interesting. I think it's the way we phrase information and the way that entertainment outlets and stuff go about it. It's one thing to say this could happen. Like, for example, early on in our show, we talked about Mephisto. We talked about Mephisto as an idea. And I think that's not the same as saying, oh, it's definitely going to happen. Because there's some basis in that in the comics and also basis in that potentially showing up in the series. Because earlier on, there kept being references to, like, devilry and stuff of that, situation.
And like, the storyline that they appeared to be kind of basing WandaVision off of involves Mephisto. So it makes sense that, like, people were speculating. I actually quite like that it was Wanda who did it.
Me too, but that's the difference. Was that we were speculating. We weren't saying it's definitely going to be that.
Yeah, Austin Archer said, I'm not trying to defend the over-the-top fan theorist here, but Tiana Paris did hype up the aerospace engineer. I can't wait to see what y'all's reaction is. Oh, yeah, that's fair. Yeah, I definitely think, like, I thought it was hilarious that Paul Bettany was like, yeah, there's going to be this cameo of this actor I wanted to work with for my entire life, and it was literally just him.
I mean, that's not a lie, though.
It's not a lie, but it is, I think, I don't know. They do have a vested interest in, like, getting people excited and talking about the show.
Exactly.
Same thing with like Mandalorian, right? People were like speculating about that. They need like water cooler shows or what everybody like desires to have. A show where like everyone's talking about it and keeps coming back every week to figure out what's going on. I just think that some people's reaction to it has been completely like out of line. Mephisto in our
cracking
chat.
us up in the chat.
Sorry.
I need to. I mean, Mephisto's favorite movie for everyone who can't see the chat is The Devil's Advocate, which, you know, good for him again. Mephisto, are you the same Mephisto from the Ghost Rider movie? Are you Peter Fonda? I need to know this. But yeah, there's a difference between taking that information or like having an article saying, could this be this? And then YouTubers and stuff going, no, this is going to happen. Because then people do get their hopes up, but then they do get disappointed by this stuff.
I think if like anything, like the culture around talking about this stuff has turned so much into like, here's 50 Easter eggs you missed in WandaVision episode 8. And it's like, I don't think any of these were actually, maybe some of them were. But like, I don't think there's just like this kind of like internet culture that perpetuates this idea that like they're throwing Easter eggs and things for potential stories or whatever. And sometimes they just put fun stuff in their show for nerds like us to go, oh, I know that.
That's true. Yeah. It's like, or like in the opening credits, it's like, oh, there's a fun little Easter egg.
Yeah.
It's not that important.
Yeah. Most of the time it's not. It doesn't like in Guardians 2, like Nathan Fillion played Wonder Man, or was like Wonder Man in a poster in the background. Yeah. And it's like, that's cool. I don't care if we ever see Wonder Man, because who gives a shit about Wonder Man?
Or Howard the Duck.
Or Howard the Duck. But doesn't mean we're getting a Howard the Duck movie. As much as I would love a Howard the Duck movie.
Yeah, I mean, I was surprised he appeared in Endgame, to be fair. That was like a crazy one step up. But you know, you're right. There are those are these Easter eggs that you just constantly see all the time, and they don't mean anything groundbreaking. You just need to go in with low expectations and be delighted. Because, like you said, the core of the show that they promised us was that we're going to delve into Wanda and Vision's characters, which we did. Let's look at some of the other questions and comments we've got. Caleb says, as far as the X-Men go, people really expect Marvel to just carry on over the extensive lore and history from the comics. Like, Magneto has to grow up during the Holocaust or stuff like that. The only thing I want from the mutants is the social, racial, LGBT plus commentary, and for them to not dumb down the social justice associated with the X-Men. Well, I think with Feige, I feel like that's not going to be the case. Like, I don't think they will dumb down all the commentary.
I feel like you're totally... Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, no, you go.
I was going to say, you're totally right about like how X-Men purists are going to want... Here's the thing with the X-Men, right? And I say this as like a queer individual. Just throwing that out there. It is a dated metaphor. Right? It just is. It really like it's such like a 1960s way to look at bigotry, right? But people are going to be really angry. This isn't necessarily connected to like Magneto being in the Holocaust. I have no idea how you could handle that now, right? You could probably come up with something very similar. I'm not sure. I mean, his Jewish heritage is incredibly important to his character, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, but I do agree that like it's going to be interesting to the X-Men have needed to be modernized and helmed by marginalized groups without worrying about the history, and it's really exciting to me that maybe the MCU can do that.
Yeah. That
we can like finally get to a point where like marginalized people can actually create a decent, because the metaphor falls apart really because the X-Men they're an allegory for bigotry, right?
Yeah.
But most of them are white. So it's like it doesn't work for the most part. At least, I'm just kind of like rambling here, but yeah, that made me like think of that. Yeah, the X-Men need a revamp, I believe. And I'm excited
Charles
to see
Xavier is like, I've got a mansion.
Right.
Come live in my mansion.
Also, maybe actually cast Jewish people to play Jewish, because the MCU kind of dropped the ball on Scarlet Witch.
Yeah, that's what's interesting to me is that there's a sort of weird hypocrisy about stuff where people are like, yeah, you really should have expected everything out of this, okay? Like, don't over expect. And then within the same tweet, they go, wow, Wanda looks like exactly like her dad. It's like, shut the fuck up. She's not going to be.
I did see that.
I don't think she will be Magneto's daughter.
No, I don't think in the MCU she will be.
No. Because, like, poor Oleg. They introduce him, it's like, but actually, that's not your kid. Like, there's nothing, you don't win out of that.
Yeah. Also, Wanda's just a different character. She gets her power from the stone, not from being a mutant in this. And they set her up as, like, being powered by an Infinity Stone and not by being a mutant. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
I think the thing that struck me the most about that costume is not that she looked like Magneto, it's she looked like Vision. She had like the angular lines. That's what the vibe that I got from that.
There was like a cool rune and like imagery of the M, which I thought was really cool. So maybe they could tie it in. I wouldn't be like too bothered. I just don't think that they would do that.
It's not going to be for a really long time, I think, if we get that. But
yeah, I don't expect them to really delve into that. Was there anything else that people were happy or angry about with the finale?
I think the white Vision stuff, at least in my circle, people were very excited about, and I'm very excited about.
Me too.
And I was talking to you a little bit about this in DMs. I was like, excuse me, the show is really weird because I am sad. Like the ending made me sad, but at the same time, I think everything is eventually going to be okay.
It will be fine.
I'm not in denial at all.
No, it's absolutely true. It's the idea that Vision is out there.
And he has his memories.
Yeah. It's how he processes the memories that I'm I wouldn't say worried, I'll say intrigued by. Because we have the opportunity to have a sort of... Because that's what I'm glad as well, that he got his memories straight away. So it wouldn't be like a Bucky situation where... Like, I don't want Vision to go to a museum and be like, holy shit. Like, it's how he processes their memories. And I hope they don't do the thing like we talked about last time where he's like, I have the memories, but I don't love Wanda. Like, maybe that they kind of do that and he has to like fall in love with her again. I don't want them to be like, I'll never fall in love with you again.
Yeah, no, I don't think that's going to happen. Right. Yeah. There's a very deliberate. All right. Now we're getting into my wild speculation, right? There's a very deliberate line where Wanda says to Hex Vision, you are the piece of the Mind Stone that lives in me. Mm-hmm. So I think potentially she will maybe White Vision just has the memories, but not the emotions related to them or the love, right? Or he's just confused. And maybe Wanda can like put the piece of the Mind Stone that lives in her back into original recipe Vision, as it were, and then he can become red again, like the red.
Oh, that'd be great. Or
yes,
like
because White Vision, White Vision or red, that'd be cool. Like if like the Mind Stone thing becomes red, that'd be cool. Because White Vision looks terrible.
I think he looks good for what he is. But
I think he looked good until he got normal Vision eyes again. Like the
my
cool,
favorite...
like weird, like spider web eyes I thought were cool, but when it turned into like normal Vision eyes, I was like, this looks very bad. Okay.
I have to say, one of my favorite memes that I saw about the whole of WandaVision was someone did a thread where it's the conversation where they're debating philosophy, but instead it's like Vision saying, do you know why the show is called WandaVision? And then White Vision's like, Wanda is using her powers to manifest. And then he just goes, no, the show is called, it's because she's called Wanda and I'm called Vision. And his face is just stupid. I love that meme.
I love that scene so much because it's so Vision. Yeah. It's so Vision to be like, wait a second, have you considered this philosophical argument?
And then he's like, go on.
Yeah, Yeah, expand. He might be like got weird programming from Sword, but he's still Vision. He's like, no, please expand on this thought, please.
Let's talk about this. There was another meme that someone did where it's like Wanda and Agatha fighting, and like all energy blasts are going powerful, dangerous, like hitting each other, and then at the end it's just, hey, have you considered this? Oh no, thank you. And at the end it's like, oh okay, well there you go. That's the visions for you.
The thing that keeps coming to me from that scene is, I think Vision accepted that he wasn't Vision. Hex Vision, sorry. I think Hex Vision accepted that he wasn't really Vision. That he was
logically,
yeah. But one of the last things he did was give original Vision his memories back.
Mm-hmm.
So that maybe eventually Wanda can have him back, even if it's not this version of him.
Yeah. That's the interesting thing. Like, do you think it's the way it processes? Because people are like, oh, did he transfer himself into Vision? Which I don't think is the case. I think that being under the Hex, he has the ability to be Vision. So he just did the Vision powers and process access the memories, sort of like an anti-Ultron.
Yeah.
Do you think that the part of Vision that she's created, part of the Mind Stone, can re-exist inside Wanda, and she could process that information back into him?
Yeah, that's kind of what my thought was.
Yeah.
Right, is that she'll eventually like give that back to him. And maybe he won't remember the kids or something, or remember their time in Westview, but it'll be like Vision before I guess like he was killed by Thanos. I'm trying to like.
Okay, because I know that's what my assumption was with the memories.
Yeah, because he only remembers up to getting.
But do you think that at some point when they meet again, she'll give him the Mind Stone and then he'll remember everything about Westview?
Maybe that'd be cool. That's what I want. That's what I want, and then I want like the kids to come like running out from behind the door and be like, "Dad!"
That scene where he knows they're about to go, and he's like, "Good night, chaps." My emotions.
I mean, what the most like famous Vision panel from comics is even an android can cry, right? Yeah. It's Vision crying, and I was just like, God damn you, Marvel.
They had to throw that in there, didn't they?
I think Heath put it best. He responded to one of our tweets earlier. We were asking for questions, and he was like, I have a question. How dare Marvel?
Good point. I really didn't think we'd see like the kids dying be part of the deal.
No,
and
I didn't either.
It really hit. I'm like, Jesus fucking Christ. Like,
I think that leads into what Madison J put in the chat. How do you guys feel about the line that Monica said to Wanda at the end? They'll never know what you sacrificed for them. I've seen criticism for it, which I kind of understand. I just keep seeing people say they don't love the conversation between the two of them and that there were no repercussions for what Wanda did and no one telling her what she did wrong. That's something that's been bothering me. I keep seeing on Twitter.
No, absolutely.
Yeah.
Everyone who says that there's no repercussion and that what she did, that she doesn't understand what she did was wrong, they're wrong.
Yeah. Wanda literally oh my gosh. The repercussion is losing her children and her husband, and she's probably gonna be dealing with the repercussions of what she did in Doctor Strange 2. So I'm
pretty sure I'm gonna try and find the quote while we talk, but I'm pretty sure Elizabeth Olsen said that part of the trilogy of the story is that she's dealing with the repercussions of her actions. It's just, Wanda is a character. Like, that's it. Elizabeth Olsen called the series like therapy, and she's dealing with the accountability of what she's been through. It just frustrates me when people just assume that she's the villain. They still are assuming she's
people are still like, she's going to be the villain of Phase 4. I'm like, what show did you watch? Well,
It's like, are you Hayward? Are you White Vision? Were you programmed to hate her?
I think Wanda being a somewhat morally dubious character is okay. Yeah. Her willing to go to lengths
Would you say she's an anti-hero or a hero?
She's definitely a hero. I don't think she's even close to anti-hero.
Yeah, because people are saying, "Oh yeah, she's an anti-hero," because like trapping
The
Agatha. Well, first of
second,
all,
the second all of those people in Westview are like, "Let us go," she's like, "Okay," and does it. Like,
that's the thing. They assume that she still wanted to hurt them. She didn't. It was
no. This I think people
control.
don't realize that she did this on accident. She even says to Agatha, "That's the difference between you and me. I didn't do it on. You did this on purpose, right?" Like, people are so dumb.
Like, and when she realizes that it's, she was grieving, and like Monica says, anyone would fall into that. But the moment she realizes that what she can do, she tries to stop it. She doesn't do it on purpose. She's not purposely choking people. She's overwhelmed with her abilities, and she doesn't understand how to control them.
She's also learned an incredible amount of information about herself in the last 15 minutes. So like,
and that's why when people are like, "Oh yeah, look, she's reading the book. That means she's evil." It's like,
I think it definitely could be a plot point that she's like,
yeah,
manipulated by the Darkhold, maybe, or like is using the Darkhold to like understand it. But what else is she supposed to do?
That's the thing. I'm like, the only source of information open to her to help her learn how to potentially control her powers and not hurt anyone else is a book of the damned, maybe. But also, so far, it hasn't tried to kill her, like, say, Agatha. Yeah. And she doesn't know Doctor Strange.
No, she doesn't. No, like, she has no. She probably knows Doctor Strange to the extent of like he teleported himself. Yeah. And they probably didn't even speak to each other.
No. Like, they don't know each other.
Yeah.
And, like, where was Doctor Strange? He's like, I don't know, let me just check. Probably guarding the fucking world from, like, countless dimensions.
He's busy. Now, I'm sure if he, like, senses that Wanda's doing something, he'll show up. I'm pretty sure that's, like, what's going to happen in Doctor Strange 2.
There is an unofficial synopsis for Doctor Strange 2, which I found interesting. Obviously, it's unofficial, so and it was something to do with the idea that actually Doctor Strange is the cause of it, and that he unwillingly sets up stuff. Which
why is nobody assuming that Doctor Strange is going to be the one that messes everything up? Why does everybody assume it's going to be Wanda? I know the answer. It's misogyny.
Which character is that? Is that from the comic? Misogyny.
I mean, it's definitely in comics.
Okay, so this is Den of Geek published this last year, and again, unofficial. But this is from Production Weekly, which is a leading source for film and TV production. After the events of Avengers Endgame, Dr. Stephen Strange continues his research on the Time Stone, but an old friend turned enemy seeks to destroy every sorcerer on Earth, messing with Strange's plan, and also causing him to unleash an unspeakable evil. I mean, people just
I would actually really love if Strange is the one who fucks up, and Wanda's like, "Hi, I felt something going on here. What are you doing?"
Or like he shows up as like, "What is that? That's the Darkhold. That's the book that's missing from my library. Hell, give it here." I clicks for it. Oh shit! We've opened Kaifon. Oh no!
I feel like we need to talk about how Agatha, reading from the Darkhold, is more powerful than the Sorcerer Supreme when she's talking about the Scarlet Witch. People are gonna be so mad about that. I love it.
And it only clicked for me when I was like, because we were like, "Oh yeah, it looks a bit like the Necronomicon." I was like, "Holy shit! This book's gonna be in fucking film directed by Sam Raimi. Of course, it's gonna be like the Necron." I was like, "Oh my god, I can't believe we're gonna have to deal with this." So cool. I love Marvel, the way they do this shenanigans. Let's have a look. Oh, Caleb says, I 100% expected Vision to say, I don't want to go, just because Paul Bettany can't stop talking about Doctor Who on social media. Does he talk about Doctor Who? I haven't seen him talk about Doctor Who. Oh, that makes me excited. He could have done. I think that would have been too much. There was a lot of Doctor Who in this episode, though. it felt very, 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 very much like Science in the Library. Do you remember that episode?
Yeah, yeah.
Like, especially the scene when she was tucking them in bed. All I can think of was Donna when she turns around.
Yeah, no, I thought the same thing. I was just like, why?
Also, something at a really depressing point, which was that Billy can hear their faults. So when they leave the room,
absolutely knew. Yeah.
Like, we're about to die. Night, Tommy. Also, a really cool thing that I noticed, and I think a bunch of people did actually notice this while watching the episode, but I certainly didn't. I spoke to our friend Alden, who didn't notice it either, and he was like, "What the fuck? What?" To you had the same sort of expression, like,
yeah,
what? Which is that Doctor Strange does make an appearance in the episode, kind of. If you,
I cannot believe I didn't catch this. I'm so bad at myself.
I was like, what the so if you watch the post-credit scene, when it zooms on Wanda in the cabin, it plays a very sort of like sad, slowed down version of the WandaVision theme. Wanda's theme, to clarify. Then it sort of dissipates and then goes into, it sort of focuses on Wanda with the Darkhold. It plays the Doctor Strange theme.
I don't know what that means, but I'm very excited.
For me, it was a really clever way of musically saying, we're leaving WandaVision and we're heading into Doctor Strange.
Yeah.
But it's like...
I cannot. God. How dare Marvel get me excited about a Doctor Strange movie?
Benedict Cumberbatch. Yeah.
I like The Oath, the comic. The Oath. I did not like the 2016 Doctor Strange movie because I didn't think it was weird enough. Which might sound weird to say. I liked the Dormammu bit for most of it. I was like, why are sling rings a thing? That seems really stupid. And I thought it focused too much on like the non-magical. Yeah. So,
I liked it. I think
it's just not my favorite of the MCU. Like, it's fine.
No,
but it's definitely not like my favorite MCU movie by any stretch.
Dormammu, that's not the bargain.
That part I love.
That was dope.
That bit I like.
Again, it continues the trend of Benedict Cumberbatch acting against himself.
Yeah.
Like, I really want to see Dormammu. Like, that's the thing I would do. Like, I feel like in that film, Marvel were kind of doing what they did before, where they're like, we don't want to make it too like the comic books, so we'll make it Dormammu a kind of like a galactic presence with the giant head. I do want them to come back and have Dormammu return, but I want him to literally be like a suit with that giant, like that head.
Yeah.
It's a normal head. Like, hey everyone, I'm Dormammu. It just reminded me, like, I grew up with the Spider-Man cartoon from the 90s.
Mm-hmm.
Did you ever watch that?
I didn't. No, I was an X-Men the animated series kid.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So, which they always like sort of crossed over and stuff, but there was
there was crossover episodes.
And there's like Dormammu's like this like head in the thing, like talking to Mordo, like, you have to do this. And they tied him into the Venom subplot. Oh, anyway, crazy, but that's where I got that from. Madison says, sorry I'm bringing it up again, but how do you feel about the line Monica said, they'll never understand the sacrifice you made for them? That's a line I keep seeing criticized and saying was wrong. The people who are criticizing it, I think, are wrong, in my opinion.
Yeah, no, I agree.
I think she's completely correct in that statement, because they won't ever understand the sacrifice because they were tortured unwillingly, but they have emotional damage from that, presumably. So they're not going to like immediately think about Wanda's point of view, even though they like had the grief and stuff. But also they don't like, I feel like it's there to say like Wanda did lose a lot from this. Like, she had the perfect family and now she's lost it. So for me, and trying to absolve Wanda for what she did, well, she didn't mean to do it.
Yeah, I think that's the thing. It's like, it was an accident. She didn't do it on purpose.
Yeah.
She did. She even admits, she's like, the second I realized what I did, I should have told you, Vision. I'm sorry. Like,
yes.
And then she tells Vision she's going to fix it, and she does, even at a great personal cost to her. You know,
Yeah.
she never once is like, she only brings the hex back up when her children are and her husband are literally like disintegrating in front of her.
Yeah.
Like,
also, did anyone die? Did anyone die? Apart from Sparky, which wasn't her fault, nobody died. So, lifelong trauma? Who hasn't got that? I think that's the theme of WandaVision.
It's also like, she clearly didn't know what she was doing, because she's telling them, she's like, no, you're all safe. I made you safe. And then the second they're like, no, you did not, she's like, okay, I'll let you go. I'll let you go.
Also, to jump back into the whole misogyny point, there are so many fucking characters in this series that have done the exact same thing, caused damage, and nobody's been like...
Tony Stark caused an entire city to get flung into the air and a bunch of people died, and like...
created a whole fucking AI system that killed people. Here's a simple one. Hulk in The Incredible Hulk.
Yep, exactly.
Last time I was in New York, I broke Harlem. I'm sure that was fun for the people that lived there. But again, not really his fault. He was saving people's lives. That's the whole point. Madison also says, I've seen people say they don't feel sympathy for Wanda because at the end, she had to let go of her family. That shouldn't have existed in the first place. And also the stuff that people rescue. Well, that's the thing that's frustrating me, because people they
were
don't
real,
exist,
though.
But they were real in the hex. And also, like, what are you talking about? Like, even if it was like, people are like, oh yeah, Hayward was in the right because to him, these were a threat and they weren't technically existing. So he would shoot children.
Hayward shot at 2 10-year-old boys. Why do people keep trying to defend this white man? I don't understand.
You've just answered your own question.
Yeah, well, yeah.
It's like, really? You want to defend that fucker? Really? The thing that annoys me as well is like, there's 3 clear characters in the show that were designed to basically be the bastion of empathy, goodness, and trust. And those are my favorite 3 characters in the show, like apart from Wanda and Vision, obviously, which are Monica, Jimmy, and Darcy. And I will say this, all of them are on Wanda's side.
Yeah.
All of them.
And consistently on Wanda's side.
Yes. And they don't even, like, they do appreciate that there's trauma and stuff to do with this, but also they are defending Wanda still. When a show creates 3 characters to say that message, and Wanda, who is the main fucking hero of the program, that should tell you something. The fact that people are still making loopholes to be like, well, actually, what about this?
I think it's like this moral absolutism thing. Just because Wanda did a bad thing, it doesn't make her a bad person.
No.
Just because Tony Stark did a bad thing, it doesn't make him a bad person. The reason that like we bring this up is because there is a very obvious double standard in the way that people talk about this, I think. Just because Captain America did a bad thing doesn't make him a bad person. Like, he objectively in Civil War did several kind of bad things.
Yeah.
He was very selfish and tried to protect his friend above literally anything else and got all of his friends thrown in prison. Like,
yeah, to be fair, he broke him out though. So
no, he did. Yeah, but
even. That's another thing that's interesting. Like, people defend the law, like
in a shock collar, though. Yeah. Like, she's probably a little bit traumatized from that experience.
100%. And
just an extra level on trauma on her already huge trauma sundae.
Delicious. I think what else is interesting is that we have to talk about the fact that I'm still kind of unsure about the legality of people and situations in the show, which I hope is going to be brought up in Falcon and the Winter Soldier.
Mm-hmm.
Because I know people are like, yeah, but they saved the universe. Like, yeah, but this is also America. So, you know? Like,
yeah, America, the land of, you know, people who are very forgiving and understanding.
I feel like Wanda could still technically be seen as a threat, especially because she's still technically, probably to them, a non-American citizen.
I think they probably are like, we have no idea where she is and she's not causing any problems, so we're just not going to deal with it.
But is she like legally a threat? That scene at the end with the cabin, in my head, all I could think of was like, whatever, across the cavern, it's just Brian Cox tied up to a fence going, "You need me, Wolverine!" That's like what I could think about. Or like Jean Grey, like drowning somewhere in a pond. God bless. Let's have a look. Austin says, "I must say I love the fact that Wanda just casually told her 10-year-old twin boys to go handle the military." Yeah.
They can deal with it, though. I love that where Vision was like, "Boys, your mother and I never really prepared you for this," and Wanda's like, "Oh, but you were made for it."
And the Incredibles.
Yeah, like they were.
What else?
I love Billy Kaplan and Tommy Shepard so much.
Those actors are great.
Yeah, they're really good. Oh, I thought it was so cute when Monica was like, "I like your skills," and Billy's like, "Oh, I like yours too." I also love that Billy is consistently like worried about his mom.
Mm-hmm.
Like even when he's just been like disintegrated and brought back to life, he's like, "Mom, are you okay?" I'm like, "Oh, you sweet little child."
Also, that people keep bringing up the thing with Tommy stealing the cap and being like, "Look, just like his uncle in the X-Men universe." And I'm like, I'm pretty sure the whole point was that he takes the glasses to look like he does in the comics.
Yeah.
Like, because it's got the slit through them.
Yeah.
I was like, isn't that the point? But
I like that the color scheme though is there. Like Tommy's in a green like tracked suit with white stripes, and Billy's wearing like a red t-shirt, a red and blue t-shirt.
Yeah, it's so clever. I love that stuff. I also love the fact that we get to normalize the idea of fighting a big size battle in sort of like tracky bottoms.
Yeah, why would you ever fight a battle in jeans? That's just
Put some tracky bottoms. Put some,
You got a nice comfortable hoodie, some sensible shoes.
If you fall on the floor, you got a nice little cushioning. To deal
One
with
of the things that I hate very much about Marvel costume design sometimes, and Wonder Woman does it too, is like when they give their super heroines like a 3-inch wedge heel. I don't know if you've ever if anyone in the chat's ever worn a 3-inch wedge heel, but you cannot walk in that. I mean, you can, but barely. You can't
run in it.
Yeah, like Wasp's costume is like a 3-inch wedge heel, and I'm like, that's not.
Luckily, she doesn't have to walk that much.
Yeah, it's still stupid. I hate it.
Caleb says, "I'm still confused to how Spider-Man 3 connects to all of this."
Me too.
I will be honest with you. I'm pretty certain its connectivity will be limited.
Yeah,
I wouldn't be surprised if Doctor Strange shows up in the post-credit scene and that's it. Let's have a look. What else we got? Caleb also says, "I definitely want to see Agents of Atlas show of Jimmy Woo, bringing Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. characters, bringing Darcy, etc." I do expect, this is me putting too much credit into this, but the way they had the whole Nick Fury set up, maybe it's connected to Captain Marvel, but I feel like it is a good connectivity for maybe the Secret Invasion. Mm-hmm. I would personally love it if they actually went full out and were like, "Look, Daisy Johnson is going to be in this show." If they did that, boom. One step further. If they had LMD Coulson. That.
I never watched S.H.I.E.L.D., so I'm just like, yeah, sounds great. No idea what you're talking about. But...
TLDR, Coulson's an LMD at the minute.
Okay.
It works.
The minute. Was he always an LMD?
No.
Sorry, this is a conversation for another time.
I mean, he wasn't always an LMD. Now he is. TLDR. I would love him to be part of that. Having Daisy, who's just amazing. Last time we saw her was in space. Makes sense for me to have that bit of shield connect to sword and have those characters together. Also, because I'm selfish and I want that really bad. Also, Jimmy. Yeah, having Jimmy would be cool. Jimmy and Monica are a good team. And Darcy. Was Ralph the missing person in witness protection? I don't think they explained that. I don't think he was either.
I think he was. I think the implication was that he was.
Was he?
Yeah. I don't know, though.
So, I think that the witness protection thing was another thing that we just put too much credit on, and maybe it's a fault of the producers as well, the writers as well.
Yeah.
But from my point of view, retrospectively, I'm like, I think it's just the setup to have a reason for the FBI to get involved.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like
It could have been though, but I don't know.
People. I think it's funnier that if Vision bought a house next to a guy called Ralph Boner. He's like, this is the perfect place, like the shitty neighborhood, and he lives next door to a guy called Ralph Boner. Like, Wanda will love this.
I did see a post that was like, but the name Ralph Boner is absolutely something that Peter Maximoff, if it was X-Men Quicksilver, would like come up with as an alias.
Look, they could do a if they were going to do that, they could do some sort of Mandarin thing, and I wouldn't be bothered by it. Like, they could be like, yep, there you go.
I mean, retcons are just part for the course with stuff like this sometimes.
Absolutely, yeah.
And it is possible that they'll see the reaction to this, and Marvel will be like, maybe we should make him Quicksilver.
Look, I think that the Ralph Boner thing was funny, personally.
Madison says, how do you guys feel about how Wanda left Agatha? Do you think what she did was kind of cruel? Also, sorry for my negative questions, just things I've seen people say and would like y'all's opinions. I'm bummed out that some people have turned against the show now because people consider it problematic because of how it ended and how there are no consequences for what Wanda did other than the losing her family part. Like, they think she deserves something else or that she should have faced the Westview residents or something. Again, sorry for the negative questions. The discourse around the show has been bothering me for the past few days. Me too.
Yeah. No, don't apologize for negative questions. Questions are questions, and that's what we're here to discuss.
I do think it was kind of cruel, but I'm okay with that. I think Agatha deserved it.
Yeah, I just want to clarify something, okay? Was it a cruel act? Yes. But like you said, Ash, I think there's a sort of weird, more moral than Dow situation that sometimes happens with Twitter. I'm a petty bitch, and I am full on, like, here for that. Like, I'm like, fuck Agatha. Like, she tried to murder her children.
Yeah, no.
Also, Wanda's not going to leave her there forever.
No, it's very clearly opening the door for them to have some kind of like antagonistic relationship in the future.
Yeah.
Agatha even says, she's like, yeah, you're going to need me. And Wanda's like, well, if I do, I know where to find you. I think, like, yeah, the moral superiority police on Twitter are unbearable. They're always unbearable. But when it comes to stuff like this, it's like, shows can have problematic elements and still be good, right? Mm-hmm. There are problematic elements to pretty much anything you're going to consume because people are inherently problematic, right? So I think like being like the moral superiority police about stuff like this is just, it's exhausting.
It's frustrating.
Yeah. And it's like, if you don't like the show, you don't like the show, but like, stop trying to like make it a moral failing of people who do like the show. Like, like Wanda is not, again, because Wanda did some questionable things, it doesn't make her a bad person. And she does fix it. She doesn't just say, well, I'm keeping the hex up, screw it. Right? If she was a bad person, she might do that.
I also think that obviously we have to remember that Twitter is a very niche audience, even though it seems like it sometimes like it's like a bigger thing. I'm pretty sure general audiences will just view it the way it's supposed to be viewed and won't see Wanda necessarily as a villain. And even if they do, I'm sure that it'll get explained in Doctor Strange 2. My only worry is that because there's a big gap, it might have been very easier to sort of quash those debates quicker than it would have been. Because I think Doctor Strange 2 was supposed to come out pretty much straight after WandaVision. Now it's going to be a year, so, you know.
Yeah,
maybe we'll get a trailer soon.
I think Doctor Strange 2 comes out next year.
Yeah. So I feel like maybe those questions would have been asked quicker, but also I'm not really too bothered by that. I feel like...
But she also has to have an arc going into Doctor Strange 2 to justify her place in that movie.
Because you can't process the whole trauma of WandaVision in that film. You just couldn't. Yeah. That's why the show exists.
Yeah. And like, if she has to have a reason for why she's in that movie. And if it's like, I'm trying to like make amends that works, or it could be like I'm trying to get my kid. We need to talk about the post-credit scene eventually, but if it's like I'm trying to get my kids, that also works too. But I think like I don't know. These are just like I think Wanda definitely lost enough and atoned for what she did because she fixed it, and she didn't hesitate when everyone was like cornering her, and she didn't expect forgiveness either. Because
she's used to it, and I always go back to that quote in Civil War. I can't control their fear, only mine.
Yeah.
It's like, deal with that. Yeah, just frustrating. I want to just say the majority of people probably enjoyed it, and I feel like there's going to be a bit of debate because the finale's ended, and I appreciate people not liking it because of like the usual third act explosive stuff. Like that's fair enough. But I do think that the fact that the show crashed again when it came out is proof that the majority of people do enjoy the show and overall love the show, even if the finale was iffy for them. So I feel like you shouldn't worry too much because I feel like the majority of people did love the characters in the show. And I'm sure if we get Wanda and Vision back together, people will be over the moon.
Well, one of the things that I keep seeing on Twitter specifically, and one like my friend Heath, who straight up was like, I'm not a fan of Wanda and Vision, but this show made them like the emotional core of the MCU for me. And I think that's the case for a lot of people, right?
Yeah.
Like, I think like this show really got people to love Wanda and Vision and really like get invested in their relationship.
And that's what's really amazing about this type of show, and that's why I'm really happy about this type of storytelling they're doing. It's a solo series of sort of like a comic solo series. So you're naturally going to delve into the characters' backgrounds and their family. And if you do that, you're going to feel more attached to these characters. And I feel like it's going to be really interesting to see where we are in a year's time. Maybe the next Avengers film, when we have Sam, when we have Bucky, when we have Wanda, when we have Vision, with all this extra knowledge and sort of emotional relationship to that. That's going to be really cool. Caleb says, well, speaking of the Mandarin, it's not technically a retcon. In the All Hail the King short film, which is canon to the MCU, Trevor, fake Mandarin, gets visited by real Ten Ring followers, and they reveal that the real Mandarin was not happy at Trevor, and he's brought to him so he can be executed. Yeah, that's a retcon, Caleb. That is a retcon.
Yeah.
Because they're like, oh, shit. Oh.
Well, that was basically them going, they're really bad at us. And justifiably so. I still think the Mandarin thing was stupid.
I liked it because I like the idea of taking a character which is very sort of Orientalist and being like, turns out the real bad guy was white people who run companies. But, what can you do? Also, we'll see them. I also do love the Mandarin as a character. Like, I appreciate, like, I'm split. I appreciate trying to make it like a...
There's definitely some things in Marvel Comics where it's like, where it's like, yeah, this wasn't fine 50 years ago, and it's definitely not fine now.
Yeah.
Like, like Psylocke's backstory.
What, you mean like taking an Asian person's body for a bit? I'm like,
yep.
Whoops. Yeah, like we said with Tommy and Billy, like don't expect them to invade a Jewish family's child's body.
Yeah.
Yeah, but also there's part of me that's like seeing it like a really cool villain fight an alien spaceship and then wear the rings and be like, that's cool for me.
Yeah.
Because I'm a fucking dog. Yeah, I'm interested to see what they do with that character. Oh, by the way, I was only like messing around, Caleb. Don't worry too much. Retcon just means to sort of change.
You're retroactively going
changing the continuity.
Yeah.
So originally, the idea was probably that Aldrich Killian was the Mandarin, but now they're like, look, actually, there was a secret organization that were not happy that they used his name, which is fine, but also it's stretching your limits a little bit.
Yeah. Madison J says, I agree with y'all. I think this will unfortunately become a moral police thing for discourse in the future as to why we shouldn't like Wanda or the show because of what she did and everything. Yeah, I agree. Yeah, it's going to be... Which why I just don't engage in discourse on Twitter.
Yeah, it's like they're wrong, so it's fine.
I think maybe we should talk about I know we've been talking about like future speculation this entire time, but maybe we should talk about like more specifically like the post-credit scene, White Vision, what we think is gonna like happen with all that, or what our interpretation of it was, I guess.
I mean, I'm just gonna shout out to White Vision, who, when dealing with emotional trauma and information, just leaves.
Just yeeted himself out of the hex.
I'm Vision. Goodbye. That's why I'm worried about, like, his
To
emotions.
be fair, he's probably he's gone through a very traumatizing experience.
He just died, yeah.
He just died, was brought back, got programming in his head, got that out. Or maybe it's still there. Maybe that's the whole thing. And
could be.
He's like...
Or do you think it's like... Because, like, I'm where I was like, is the reason why he didn't go after Wanda because he doesn't have the exact same relationship with her? Or is it an even worse possibility? He feels bad about trying to kill her.
I like the second option more.
I tried to squish my love muffin.
I like the second option more than like he doesn't have the same relationship with Wanda. Because, I think the original White Vision storyline is stupid. It only exists so they can have Wanda like go crazy and fight the Avengers, right? That's the only reason that story exists. And I think it's really stupid. And it's been retconned for years. Vision is back to being Vision again. They are not together anymore, but in the comics, their relationship is not nearly as wholesome as it is in the MCU. So I think that's okay. I totally lost what I was talking about. Yeah, I think I hope it's like Vision just feels bad. Or maybe Vision just doesn't understand. He's still got like the sword programming in his head. He doesn't have the Mind Stone. Maybe he's just trying to like figure out where he is. I think like I said at the beginning of this podcast, I think eventually everything's going to be okay.
I really hope so.
It's just going to be very traumatizing for everyone involved.
Madison says, I've seen a lot of verified Twitter saying most of the things I brought up, which I get certain lines not landing, same with them and everything, but just don't add like a better person because of it. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah.
I think the way we process information, like you say, like I do that a lot, even as someone who's in the entertainment realm and all that stuff, and I have like degree in this thing. It's very hard to sometimes like add more weight to a verified Twitter account. But I assure you, they're just a normal person, and everyone can have opinions that don't.
Everyone can have incorrect opinions. Sorry.
You said that. I mean, I agree with you, but
I have a locked Twitter account. Blue check marks can't come after me.
This is the thing, okay? I think that at the end of the day, the only opinion that matters is yours. If you go in, and it is frustrating, like I've been doing really bad at it, like on Twitter, I've been like replying like, no, you don't understand, like I'm bad at it. But I assure you that you can do better by like just, processing and be like, look, this makes me angry. This elicits a not happy response from me. Ignore it, because I think what the show tells us, and I'm sure that they'll rectify this in conversations with the actors, and then people will be like, okay, yeah, Elizabeth Olsen did that, so yeah, like people do that all the time. You don't need to worry about that too much.
And there's also I think there is the natural life cycle with stuff like this these days, where like something comes out, people really love it. 1 year later, they're like, here's why WandaVision was actually incredibly problematic, and it's like. And I get it. It was incredibly difficult for me to see all of the Wanda's a bad person stuff at the beginning of the show. Like, thankfully that died down a little bit, not a lot. Because because it is kind of like a deeply personal character to me, and I relate my struggle with mental illness a lot with like her struggle with mental illness, and it's really hard to not take that stuff personally. So I totally get like why it like upsets people. Yeah, because when you like project yourself so much onto a character, you can't help but like take it as a person, but not take it as a personal attack.
Yeah, it's just one of those things, and I feel like there is a connection with that whole mental health thing that we'll get into at some point, but that is just ignore those comments and stuff and view what you got out of it. I feel like at the end of the day, that's really what matters. Caleb says there's some stories Marvel will never touch again, like the wife beater storyline with Hank Pym. There's still a stench on the character that he's just beginning to come back from. I think what's interesting about that, Caleb, is there's a difference between Marvel Studios and Marvel Comics, because I think Marvel Studios are clever enough, and I think Kevin Feige is a really clever individual to take elements from the comics and storylines and know which is right to continue and what's not. I think Marvel Comics are just like, fuck it, everything else, they're still on that train. They're still on the Hank Pym wife beater train.
That's the problem with Marvel, right? Because it's a continuous story. It's like Wanda's still answering for House of M. Hank Pym is still answering for something that was not supposed to even happen in the first place. It was an artist's mistake. Yeah, so it's it's terrible.
Do you remember reading Age of Ultron when that came out?
Oh, the comic? Yes, yes, I did.
You're like trying to remember what the fuck happened.
I honestly cannot remember. I just remember that I didn't like it.
There's that issue where, like, I think Wolverine and Sue Storm go back in time to Hank Pym. Wolverine's like, "Don't know why I wanna." It's like, shut the fuck up, Wolverine. God.
I think like going back to like the ending of this, the post-credit scene, I really like that it has like that. I mean, it's a very intense post-credit scene, but it does have that kind of like hopeful ending in the end, right? Even Vision said that. Oh my gosh, that line. We've said goodbye to before, so it stands to reason that we'll say hello again.
That's hopeful, and I think that's what the show. That was a great. When they talk about what Vision is, I think that was a great description of the show.
Mm-hmm.
You're my sadness, you're my hope, and you're my love.
But mostly you're my love.
Mostly your love. I was like, fuck you. No, I really loved it.
And Vision even being like, I've been a voice with no body, a body but not human, and now a memory made real. Who knows what I might be next? And I think he knows. I think he knows, like, that's him saying, like, White Vision. I don't know. He's such a good guy. I love him so much.
Someone pointed out, in the scene where Wanda falls on the floor with the family, Wanda and the kids cuddle Wanda as she's being brought up. Vision picks her up, helps her up, then kisses her head.
Yeah, kisses the top of her. I loved how, like, Vision is such a good dad in this episode, too.
Yeah. Again, I'm going to bring up the same thing I said earlier. When he leaves the room, he goes, "Good night, chaps." I'm like, oh, fuck me. Like,
yeah, he's clearly not okay.
And, oh my God, and I think what I appreciate as well is Wanda visually accepting, where she, like, tells him, like, we'll say hello again. She genuinely believes that.
Yeah.
Whereas before, I don't think she would have.
No.
And that is a great way of helping her deal with trauma. I think what a testament to the show for successfully delving into that.
Yeah, again, it's amazing they got so many people to care about them. You know, these two side characters in the movies, for all intents and purposes. Like, yeah, Vision plays a pretty big role in Infinity War, but still, he's ostensibly like a side character. Yeah, that when she says, "Thank you for choosing me to be your mom," it's like, I'm gonna start crying again. This whole
Well,
episode,
okay.
the last like 15 minutes made me cry just so bad.
Here's what we'll do. If you're still watching on YouTube, please give us your quick fire questions, and we'll try to all theories, and we'll get through as many as we can. We're going to wrap up fairly soon. There was an interview with Esquire that Paul Bettany did. I don't know if you read this.
No, I didn't.
They straight up ask him about like, would he come back to play Vision, because obviously that it sets up. And it's like, look, I don't care whatever way. Like, I'm always down to come. I'm coming back as Vision. I'll always do it, which I just love. But there's a specific line that was a specific quote that he said, which I thought was a really great analysis of the show and summary. And this is what Paul Bettany said. We managed to make a TV show that celebrates the golden era of American television and is also about grief. I think that's fucking funny and weird and a great thing to be part of.
Yeah, that's exactly it.
Like, yeah, like they managed to put together, and it'd be a superhero show.
I'm really glad that he's always down to come back as Vision.
Yeah, me too.
He's just so good.
I just love the idea of him. Sorry, I just love the idea of him because he mentions before, like with the Age of Ultron, like being told that he's going to get sacked, and he comes back at the end of Infinity War thinking he's going to get sacked again. They're like, look, we're going to bring you back for WandaVision, and now it's like, we can't let you go. You have to be a WandaVision now.
People like you too much now.
Do you think he'll come back in a bigger role? Like, do you think White Vision will still be a main character?
I think the White Vision thing's going to wrap itself up relatively quickly. I think here's my hot take. I've been saying this since we started the podcast. I think that Wanda and Vision, the role that they might play in future Avengers things is being the mentors of the young Avengers.
Okay.
That might just be wishful thinking on my part because I really want that to happen, and I think it'd be really cool, and it'd be a good way to tie in the fact that Vision is an original member of the Young Avengers.
Mm-hmm.
Excuse me. Yeah, so I think that would actually be a really good role for them because that would be kind of perfectly suited for them, I think.
Yeah, parents and stuff.
Mm-hmm. Madison J said, I saw a thread if someone was talking about how the scene of Wanda saying goodbye to her kids didn't sit right with them because they thought she was letting go of them too easily, so she didn't seem to care. How did that scene hit you guys? Oh, I was devastated. I think she's putting on a brave face for her children.
She is. Yeah, she's accepted what has to happen for the betterment of the world, I guess. She's putting on a brave face. There's only so much she can do.
That's what being a parent is.
Yeah.
It's putting on a brave face for your kids. Yeah.
She's upset.
She's clearly very upset.
She physically closed the portal because she didn't want them to die. Until there was a way she found out there was no way to get past it. That's when she had to, accept. And again, like we've mentioned before, the show is the 5 stages of grief, and that's acceptance. It's hard to watch. I really love that scene, especially the goodbye scene between Vision and Wanda, and the emotional impact, and him again doing the whole pretending it's a fact or a logical decision when actually it's an emotional decision of wanting to see Wanda with the light on. Yeah. And she calls him out on it in a really sweet way. It's yeah, I know. It's bullshit. It's really beautiful. And again, I think people are that's the best thing about this content, like Star Wars. When you retroactively watch these films, it will be forever changed. There's no way you can watch that same film. There's no way you can watch Age of Ultron the same way you do now, because you go back and you know the relationship between those characters and where it goes. And
it retroactively makes Civil War so much better too. That line where Vision's I want people to see you as I do. At that point, you know that he's pretty much already in love with her because of the scene in WandaVision.
Yeah, absolutely. Oof. Or Infinity War, of course. 2 years apart. Well, yeah, we've got that. Well, I think that's all we've got time for this week on PonderVision.
Yeah, I think so.
I think we've gone through the finale as much as we can. Coming back to what I said at the beginning, we're going to be doing a lot more on this channel. I'm personally trying to do a lot more on this channel, Personally, going to do a lot more content for you guys. Personally, going to add more stuff outside the channel, which could be really exciting. It's going to be a little while before we get really into it. But one of those decisions that I've personally made is that we talked about this before, like what names can we call these shows? And should we have like different names for different shows? I think PonderVision is still really good.
Yeah.
And we've labeled it as an MCU discussion podcast. So for 2 weeks' time, when we come back for Falcon and the Winter Soldier, it will still be PonderVision.
No, I love that. I love that.
So yeah, that's the announcement. FYI. So we'll be back. PonderVision will be back in 2 weeks' time.
A whole 2 weeks. However will we cope?
And that 1 week we get content still. We get the documentary.
Oh, I forgot about that. We are truly being fed by Disney Plus. Thank you.
Absolutely. Madison says she has one more question. Well, yeah, feel free. We haven't wrapped up completely yet, so if you have one more question, get that in before last round at the bar.
I think it's. I saw someone say that Wanda never admitted to hurting those people and that they hated how they used Monica to absolve Wanda for what she did. How do you feel about that sentiment? I've seen that floating around too. Kind of the same. I think Monica. It's completely understandable for Monica. I think, like, in a certain framing, they're correct. Like, Monica is there to kind of be like, it's okay.
Yeah.
Like you didn't mean to, and I probably would have done the same thing.
Because they set that character up as that.
Yeah. That's been Monica's role this entire time. Is quote unquote absolving Wanda.
But it's not just Monica either. It's like the whole of the.
No, it's the whole trio. Gosh, I need to see more of them.
Me too.
I need to see more of them together too.
I think that's what they're gonna do. Like Marvel are already gonna like seeing what works and then implementing that into their future plans. So I hope we see more of that too. Also, before we head off, can we talk about? Have you seen the set pictures of Natalie Portman?
Buff Natalie Portman, yes.
Look, I just want. There's only one thing I want for the rest of this year, and that's for Natalie Portman to find me and beat the shit out of me.
Can Natalie Portman step on my throat, please?
Please.
Also, there's set pictures of Tessa Thompson in a suit, and I was like, this movie is just going to be a bisexual nightmare.
It's going to be and Alden brought something up to me, and I was like, holy fuck. Because he said, if you look carefully, she's in a suit on like a horse, or like on a Pegasus, and there's people in the background in like an Asgardian suit, where it's like kind of like a human suit, and on top it's like armor, like an Asgardian armor. He's like, do you think that they're good at making New Asgard like a diplomatic country? Or a state?
I am so excited. Ragnarok is one of my favorite like solo MCU films. I can't wait.
Jason Aaron's Run is one of my favorite all-time like comic runs, and seeing Lady 4 is just gonna be beautiful. Well, that's all we've got time for this week. Ash, where can people find you?
You can find me on my Star Wars Book Club podcast, which is Rogue Podron, wherever podcasts, whatever your preferred podcatcher is. And
and you can find me on Twitter at CMWASHBY. You can see it below. And also on the Imperial Senate podcast, where we talk about Star Wars and stuff. And also, I have a Ko-fi and a Patreon link if you want to help support me there. We do other stuff, which, again, I might be blending into this stuff. We'll see. We might have more comics discussions in the near future, which will be really interesting. Well, that's all we've got time for. See you, everyone. Bye.
Bye.